My name is Newcomb. I'm a Trauma Survivor Network Coordinator. What we spoke about today was the experience of the TBI caregiver, the folks who are really providing the majority of care, medical and otherwise, for the folks experiencing traumatic brain injury. And it turns out what we learned today from our conference was about every 5 seconds there is a new survivor of TBI. And that means to me that there are every 5 seconds a new family involved in this experience of caregiving. What we know about caregiving is that it begins from the moment that you hear about this injury. That might be a phone call, it might be a witnessing of an injury, but whatever that moment is, it's something that those family members will remember for the rest of their lives. That moment leads them to a life they had never imagined, starting with the hospitalization in which they are suddenly experiencing an environment that is unfamiliar and unfriendly, and moving on into rehabilitation where they are suddenly the medical caregivers in a world that is unfamiliar. What we learn about those family members is that while they are stressed in a way that they have never been before, they are also incredibly capable and strong and able to manage this. When they find themselves at home, they discover new capacities to manage this, what they call new normal, and we call it a dreaded new normal, to be able to take care of all of the responsibilities that the survivor once took care of, as well as all of their own, which could be managing the home, managing the finances, managing their trips back and forth to the physicians, as well as taking care of their own life, the children, and all the responsibilities of the home. What happens to these caregivers that we understand through a lot of research, and a lot of research is done on the experience of the caregiver, is that they experience significant levels of anxiety, stress, depression, and sadness because of these losses that are undocumented and ununderstood by their community. They have once had, say, a husband who was active, engaging, and supportive, who now is someone who they see and recognize physically, but may not be truly the person they had known for a long time. And one of the challenges that caregivers experience without really realizing it is that this significant change in their life is actually unmarked. It is an experience that we don't celebrate, we don't ritualize, we don't get acknowledged by our community. In most of the changes, the significant changes in our lives, say marriage or divorce even, or death, retirement, many changes in our lives, we do have rituals that accompany those significant life changes. When it comes to brain injury, that's not something that our communities tend to rally around families for. They generally can't see the significant changes that a spouse or a sibling or a parent can see for that survivor. And it's not something that it's a community event. So that's one of the significant challenges for families, is that the isolating nature of the injury does not offer them an understanding of how really to create a community. And one of the things we talked about throughout the day today was the recognition of the universal experience of families and survivors of this confusing and challenging recovery process can actually be mitigated by joining together in conferences such as the Journey Conference, or in support groups that are held by both BIS and Inova Fairfax Hospital, in which family members and caregivers and friends, as well as the survivors themselves, can get together and in a group recognize the universal experience that they've got. And it turns out when we get together, we are able to recognize the strengths that we have and the paths that we can take survivor in the healing, and in fact create healing for folks who are new to this experience.